Hi, guys. Happy New Year's and happy 2026. Welcome back to the Balanced Boss Mom podcast, the space where we talk about growth, healing, inheritance is what I meant to say, motherhood, building the life that feels aligned, and just successful on the outside just as much as the inside. Now, today's conversation is going to be pretty heavy, a little deep, so bear with us. But I have an amazing guest that's coming on today with us for this morning. I'm so honored to be joined by Andrea today. Reflectful conversation about awareness, healing, and creating intentional emotional connections while building relationships. Especially as moms, especially as women, we need to take a minute, have some time to build these connections and build these relationships. So, before we begin, I want to remind you and have this gentle reminder that this episode touches on an emotional patterns, childhood wounds, and self reflection. So, if you have to pause the video or pause the audio, feel free to pause it. No matter how big this conversation gets, no matter how small the conversation may be, please take time for yourself. So, without further ado, my very first guest of 2026. I am so excited. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm Andrea Lupulescu and I've created Inheritance Unbound. And I'm super happy and grateful to be here and have this really amazing conversation.
I'm excited for you to be here because we've talked already previously before. So I've gotten a little bit of an insight of what Andrea does, which is pretty exciting, pretty cool. Um, but for the audience that don't know what exactly that you do, um, let's start by, since it's 2026, it's new, it's a new year, new us. Sometimes I don't want to say new
Mm,
you, new us, but we could say that for 2026. So I want to go off of on a little tangent before we start talking about your story. So I want to ask you for 2026, what would be your word of the year?
Gratitude.
Oh, I like that. I like that word.
I even have it on a post-it on my desk because that's the feeling that I want to be in 2026 for the whole year. And if we're in gratitude, then amazing things are going to happen.
I like that word for the year. So my word for the year, I've already put it on my vision board, which I posted, by the way. If you guys haven't started a vision board, start on it because we're only 3 days into the new year. So my word of the year is alignment. So I'm trying to find
Mm.
everything that aligns for me, whether it's intentional, um, whether it's not intentional. I just want to find things that align for me. So I'm
Mm.
glad to start off with this conversation with the word of the year for 2026. So I love for you to share a bit about your journey. What led you to the work of understanding, rebuilding patterns and emotional feelings?
So for a very, very long time, I had this very deep feeling of um, anxiety, despair,
Hmm.
grief, whatever you want to call it. It was very complex feeling,
Hmm.
very quiet and very loud at the same time in my life. So I started to look around. Why am I feeling like this? Why am I not manifesting? Because I saw The Secret 25 years ago and everyone was like, The Secret, positive vibes. And I was like, well, I'm here, positive vibes and journaling and writing 30 times a day what I want to manifest, and it's not happening. So is it me? Why is it me? So I started on this journey for 20 years, self-improvement, um, more structured in the last 10, when I started to discover life coaching and NLP and hypnotherapy And you name it, I have a certification in it. Spent loads of money, lots of time, and it did give me a lot of tools, and I understood how our mind works and why we're doing what we're doing, and how to reframe things, and how to put a negative in a positive, and all of that. And yet there were still patterns in my life that I was kept coming to them, and no matter what I did, I still made the same mistakes. We call them mistakes, but they're patterns. Yeah.
Okay.
So that brought me to discover internal family systems, and I did a 1-year academy for internal family systems, where basically we work with parts of ourselves. Yeah, we know if we need to make a decision and we're thinking about it. A lot of times we are thinking, well, a part of me wants to do this because this, but another part of me doesn't want to do it because this. And those parts are actually real. We're fragmented. Our soul is fragmented. So I've learned how to work with that, how to bring those parts back into my soul. And then I went to a in-person workshop, family constellation workshop with my mentor. And that is where everything literally clicked, because I could feel it in my body. Like literally, I didn't participate in the workshop. I literally stayed and just watched, but being in that field and seeing and feeling, something released in me, something, somehow. One of the gifts of family constellations is that we forget. So I kind of forgot what the workshop was about and the constellations that we worked on. But something shifted so deeply in me that I was like, I have to do this. I have to learn. I have to go on this path, because everything that I've learned for my brain, for my mental, but this is actually for my soul and how to heal my soul. And that was the shift when I realized that there is no other way for me and for my soul. And obviously I had to make sacrifices to be able to, I'm doing all of this in Bucharest. I have to travel every 2 months. And all of that, it's expensive to travel. We all know. And I was like, I don't care. I need to do it for me, for my soul, for my journey. And later on, I realized, well, there's so much unnecessary cruelty and suffering into the world. Why not release a little bit and start helping people and make them aware that there are deeper things that we can see and use to heal ourselves. And that's how I ended up doing what I'm doing.
Yay! I love that. And I know we talked about it a little bit previously before, so that was really intriguing to wanted me to have you to be my first guest, because it was really interesting to learn about like the family constellations and what your background is. So that was really interesting, and I'm glad that you were able to share this with the listeners. So I want to dive, because I know we're getting a little deeper now. So I want to talk about patterns themselves. Like, why do you think so many of us find ourselves repeating the same dynamic or the same pattern, even when we want something to change and be different? Like, for an example, attachment styles or childhood modeling is one of the things I want to learn about. Why do we often seek to have those same patterns keep happening but want a different result?
So, I'll give you a very practical example of this, because I've witnesses with, yeah, I was part of it.
Good.
Uh, this is the story of one of my colleagues. I'm not going to mention my name, but I know him personally. And he wanted to start a family. He was married. He is married. and they couldn't have children. We didn't know that. Like this is random. This is in blind, like we like to say. And we started working. I don't, again, beauty of family constellations, you don't remember the constellations that you work. Very few ones I remember. But he represented in this constellation, I can't remember, the father that was repeating a pattern from his family, from his father. And again, I can't remember exactly what was the dynamic in that constellation. But then later on, we met, and he was like, well, actually, my wife is pregnant. I'm going to be a father. And what it made this very interesting, because we didn't know that, before he worked that constellation, he actually went to the doctor, and he was infertile. He had all the labs done. Mobility was like 0 point something, 0.3, 0.4. Basically, he was infertile. And after she got pregnant, after the wife got pregnant, he went and he did those same tests again, and his mobility was around 5%. So he became fertile again, with no treatment, with no diet, with nothing. Just the fact that he was able to look at that pattern. Now, that was the story, that because I wanted to give you like a proper example for each one of these things. Like, how does that impact our relationships? The patterns that we carry from our parents or their parents or their parents. Yeah. Well, if we take this example, we want a family, we want something, but unconsciously that doesn't happen because our soul is actually looking with love and with loyalty towards something that happened in the past. And we can be aware of that pattern. Yeah. If I'm choosing toxic partners for myself, if I'm choosing partners that are abusive or alcoholics or addicted to drugs or whatever it might be, that is a pattern. And that's where our soul is saying, I need you to look at this event that happened. Because until you don't, not necessarily you, someone in the family system that we belong, until someone doesn't look at this event, this won't happen for you. And usually, most times, that's going to have a ripple effect in the family also, because things will unlock for other people also. Because the same event is going to have different ripples for different family members.
Okay, so I see what you're saying about the having the same pattern, but you want a different result, so you have to start with like your childhood, whatever you've been dealing with your childhood first, and then
Yes, and
kind of grow.
yes. So if we're looking from, like, for example, attachment styles and childhood modeling side, they explain part of this, and they're very helpful when it comes to framework to work on these things. But what I see, especially for parents, for mothers, for fathers, is that there's an additional layer underneath of loyalty towards someone else. Yeah.
Okay.
And for women, especially, we carry a lot of unconscious patterns that don't originate with us. Yeah. And it's not about reenacting necessarily the exact dynamic. It's about recognizing and acknowledging whatever happened, the pain, the suffering, the fate, the whatever. Yeah. So the it's not about self-blame here, because sometimes what I've seen happening is they see the pattern, and maybe they even correlate it to something that happened in the past, but all go on survival mode and we go in the shame and in the guilt. What's wrong with me? Like, why can't I break this? All of that, when actually it's a little bit more gentle, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the question would be, if this is what this pattern feels like, when did I felt this before? Did I feel it or someone else felt it? And just sitting with that question,
Mm-hmm.
and you get the answer. Maybe not that second, maybe not that day, but at one point, yeah, because our brain doesn't like open loops. Yeah, every time we're asking ourselves a question, you will get the answer at one point, because the brain works underneath because it wants to close the loop and give you the answer.
Or the brain will block out that trauma in that time frame, because sometimes trauma does make your brain. Sometimes you can block out trauma from certain situations, and sometimes you may not, like you say, you may not get that answer that day or that hour, but it will come back to you in some shape or form.
Yes,
So
and it will come back, like you said, when you are ready, when the mind is ready, and when the soul is ready. Both need to be ready for the answer.
understand. So I get that. I understand now. And I'm learning about attachment styles a little bit more in childhood trauma. Um, because if you don't face that head on, then later on, and I get it, because I kind of get it now, where if you had childhood trauma when you were younger and it does affect you now when you get older, you have to take time to kind of face that childhood trauma at some point. Um, so here's where it hits home for me, because as a mom myself, um, we create so many different patterns, and it can feel like
Mm,
very overwhelming realizing how our patterns can not our patterns can kind of affect not only ourselves but affects our children. So what's the difference between reacting versus responding to that pattern?
I'm going to tell you another story. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but our children are in our service, in the service of our healing, if I could say so. And reaction versus responding, this is the story. If a mother is struggling, or it can be also a father, yeah, but we're talking about mothers now.
Mm-hmm.
If she is struggling with whatever, trauma, pain, suffering,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll go even to not consciously. So this is not even about the persons, the people that are depressed and have not so positive thoughts. I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about on a soul level.
Mm-hmm.
And that person doesn't want to be there. Yeah, she's going through the motion because she has to. Yeah, she's in the survive mode, and I'm going to survive and I'm going to do everything, but she's disconnected emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
The child or the children, but usually it's one, sometimes two, but if there are more than one children in the household, it's going to be probably just one.
Mm-hmm.
One of the children is going to become the problem child, the child that does all these things that the mother needs to solve, and they need to get involved, and the child is always creating problems, and problems at school, problems with friends, problem with whatever problems that child is going to
Mm-hmm.
create. And the child is doing that because on a soul level, they can feel the suffering. And because they are in service, they're going to say, I'm going to do everything that I can to keep you here.
Okay.
How am I going to make that happen? By creating problems. You can't die if I'm going to be a problem. One of the things my mother said to me, and it landed very differently. Actually, it landed after we had our conversation. She always tells me that I can't die until I see all of you settled and good in life. And my reply to her, up until this point when it actually landed, was like, well, that's why I'm not going to do anything about that. I'm not going to settle in life just so you can't die. I said it in a very humorous way because I use a lot of humor. But I realized that that is actually very true from a soul to soul level. I know you're tired. I know you're suffering. I know you don't want to be here. But since you don't want to go away until you see me settled in my life with, the family and the house and the car and the job and whatever else she wants from me, well, I'm not going to do it. Why? So you can be here. So I can have my mom with me. That's what we do on a soul level. Yeah, that's the story.
I like it.
Now, reacting versus responding, because that was actually the question. That lives in literally awareness. That lives in taking a breath when your child is triggering you. Yeah, because what happens, and I do want to emphasize awareness. Everything happens in the body. When your child is triggering you, you breathe differently, your posture is differently, your tone is differently, everything is different. So just take a breath and realize what has changed. And then we need to move into the observer place. Yeah. I'm feeling this way because of whatever is triggering me. What is actually triggering me? And that can be a little bit of a road and a journey to discover the trigger. And second, he needs my attention now for this thing. But if I look inwards and I see that this is triggering me, then I can take a breath and actually I can respond properly and not just react.
Okay, I
Does
see
that
what
make
you're saying.
sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, it does make sense because if your child comes up to you and they want you to stop everything that you're doing in that instance, it could be something that it can be very triggering to
Yes.
you.
And I'm going to give you a gold pill here. We all crave to be seen by our mothers. When we are triggered that the child is like, mom, 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 we are triggered because actually we weren't seen by our mothers. And on a very, very subconscious level, we say to ourselves, well, nobody really cared about me. Why should I care about you? I'm busy at this time.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Very, very unconscious level.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not doing this because we are mean, because we're bad people, because we're bad mothers. Absolutely not. Every single mother wants to do the absolute best for their children. I can guarantee you that. And all the children have their best mothers. It's just taking that breath, and this is a gold tip. Breathe and just say, what does this remind me of? When did I feel like this? It takes you 3 seconds. And while you're going down and you're like, yes, baby, what do you need from mommy? What do you want me to see? What? And have that eye contact and connection with them. your brain can roll like, when did I actually feel like this?
Or when was
And
a
something,
time and place that this happened to me? Okay, I see
yeah,
what you're saying.
I did that for myself. And the image that I had was a 1 year, probably 1 year old, 18 months year old Andrea, really small, an
Mhm,
image of me as a baby with my hands up and being like, oh, nobody loves me, I'm here all alone, blah, blah, blah,
mhm.
whatever the story was. But that was just part of me that wanted in that moment to be seen and heard
Well,
and loved and whatever it was. And once you acknowledge that, you're like, now I'm not triggered anymore. Ah, this is where it's coming from. Okay, and now I see it, I acknowledge it, I love you, I give a little bit of love and a little bit more love to that part of myself, and all of a sudden, the child is like, ah, okay, now I got what I wanted, you can carry on, and they go on with
they
their
do do
job. Yeah,
they do that when they want your attention all the time and be like, now I got your undivided attention. Let me go ahead and figure this out really quickly, and then once it's solved, like their whole world is just done. It's solved. So I get it,
exactly.
especially as a mom, because I'm like, little lady, I'm doing something right now. Give me at least a couple seconds, and then we can solve your issue. But it's like, no, the issue got to be solved right here, right now. So I get it as a mom. Um,
Yes.
so I want to shift into something really powerful: the idea of a soul level connection with our children. Um, what does a soul level connection truly mean to you? And how can moms nurture a deeper connection um, while dealing with a hard day?
Mhm. I have a story for you. Another one.
I love stories. I love stories with you. They're awesome. And if you're listening,
So,
guys, she is an amazing storyteller. By the way, I'm just saying.
so, um, we all have that soul connection with our parents and with our children. Um, the issues arise when um, subconsciously we sever those connections. So one of the story that I think would be really good for this case is when we are triggered by our parents. Sometimes we harm them by denying half of them. How does that look like? We, as human beings, we are half our mothers, half our fathers. The father lives in the right side of our body, the mom lives on the left side of our body. So if, for example, we have a um, argument, and I don't know about you, but uh, I heard it a lot
Mm-hmm.
in moms, is when the child is doing something that the mother doesn't approve, or the other one, when the child is doing something that the father doesn't approve, what that parent is going to say is, "You're exactly like your dad. You're exactly like your mom." Yeah,
I've heard of it.
yeah.
I've heard of it
But we
in
say it
my
in a negative way. And when we say it in a negative way, what we actually say, we're excluding that we perceive that as negative. You shouldn't be this way. You are, but you
Mhm.
shouldn't. So I'm rejecting that part of yourself that is behaving like the other parent.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Okay.
learn in family constellation that everyone belongs. Yeah, we cannot reject. Well, not that we can. We can reject, but that will have consequences. But when we're talking about our children, when we do that, we say, I reject half of you, that half of
Mm-hmm.
you that comes from the other parent. And
Okay.
And when that happens for the child, two things happen. One, because they won't be able to connect with you on being like you,
Mm-hmm.
they might get other patterns in their life to be able to connect with that parent. Yeah. Let's just say it's a mom that says, you're exactly like your dad. Your dad is a troublemaker. You're exactly like your dad.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that child going to do? Well, they're going to connect with the mother through other means like diseases, poverty, other patterns, negative patterns. And they're also going to connect with the rejected parent, with the father, by being more like him.
Okay.
So when we want that soul connection, because we all want to be seen and heard and loved.
Mm-hmm.
And this is valid for partners also, by the way. When we want to save our parents, we actually want to save our mother or our father that live inside our partners, because we choose them accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
So for that soul level connection with our children, usually one sentence is enough. It's okay to be exactly like him or like her. I
So
still love
changing it.
you, even if you are exactly like him or like her.
So, like you're saying, change it in a more of a positive direction rather than saying it in a negative direction. Correct?
Yes, because
Okay.
we do two things here. One, we give them permission to love the other parent that we're upset with, which is a big deal. We do that on one level.
Mm-hmm.
On a second level, what we do is we give them identity. We say, you are you. You can do whatever you want. If you want, you can be just like him. But you are separate from me, which means we relinquish that control that we want to have over our children. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they need to go through some experience. We can't protect them. When we try to protect them too much, we become controlling and all of that. That creates more friction. And yeah, we
Yeah.
know the story mentally. Yeah, I'm explaining what happens on a soul level. So when we say it, and again, we can say that as words,
Mm-hmm.
or we can just say it inside of ourselves.
Okay.
And when they have that sense of, really, I'm free now, I can choose.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not going to be like that because I'm my own, because of the second thing, I'm my own being and I can
Your
do
own
whatever I
person.
want. And I
Yeah.
can build my identity with my values and my everything that's important for me and all of that.
Okay.
And that's how you build that level connection.
I like understanding. Now I understand a little bit more of the soul ties that comes with a mother and a father and a child or their children and how they can react versus responding to a situation. So it gives me a little bit more of an idea where um for me, I feel like my daughter's in this impressionable age right now
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like, I don't want her to hurt herself. For example, she likes to get on her scooter. So with me, I'm like, you need a helmet, you need, all your protective gear.
Mm.
She feels on the other hand, Mom, I don't need this. I'm a big girl. You gotta let me do what I need to do. And me being protective over her, I'm like, all right, you have to have your helmet because if you fall and you hurt your head, you can crack your skull. That, in my mindset. So I see what you're saying about the soul tie of everything. when it comes
Can
to
I
the mother and the child.
interject there and
Mhm.
say something? When we worry, we don't worry about them. We worry about us. Because if you think about it, we say, "Oh yeah, but you could fell and hurt your head."
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily about their pain and their experience. It's about my pain and my experience. What will I do if that happens?
So it's kind of like me responding to if she was to get on the scooter and don't have, as we're
Mm,
doing the talk, she gets on the scooter and and it did happen where she got on the scooter and I was like, "You're going too fast. You're going too fast. You're going too fast." Like, calm, like, you know. And her
mm,
dad was like, "You gotta let her be a kid. Just let her have fun. She's gonna fall. This is the first time she's on a scooter. She's gonna fall." And
mm,
I was like, "But what if she hurts herself?" And sure enough, she was scrolling. She was not scrolling. She was on her scooter, and she was going way too fast, and she fell. And my first reaction is to run to her and save her, right?
mm,
And her dad, in the midst of everything, put his arm across and was like, "No, you have to let her learn." He was like, "Because if she doesn't
mm,
learn now, and you try to save her from everything, every time you're going to try to keep trying to save her from something, and she's not going to be able to think for herself to learn." And that's something for
mm.
me that's a little hard for me because she, like I said, she's in this, I she's been with
Yeah, but
me. She
it's
was
not
born.
about her. It's not about her. It's about you. She will go through whatever she needs to go through,
Mhm.
and um, and this is the beauty, the another gold pill. So my mentor, she's actually a doctor, okay,
Mhm.
and she's a pediatric doctor.
Mhm.
And what led her onto this path, and she studied with Bert Hellinger in Germany for like 5 years. She's one of his students.
Mhm.
And the main question that led her on this path was why? Why do children get sick? Why horrible things happen to children?
Mhm.
Because everything that happens to them until a certain age is actually uh, belonging to the family system. Yeah. Or uh, all sorts of scenarios where she would have patients with all sorts of symptoms, and you could see the symptoms on CT scans and labs and all of that, but
Mhm.
zero cause for them. Because usually the children will somatize what we can't feel.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So when you're worrying, you're not worrying about her fate, her destiny. You're actually in your head worrying about you not being able to carry that pain.
Or
And
like
if that
protecting
is
her
the
from it.
yes, and if that's the case, the following question is this actually mine? And I'm going to be very honest here, and I'm going to say no. Because I can guarantee you somewhere in your family system, your mother, your grandmother, whatever, they lost children. And that pain of losing children
Mhm.
stays in our body, in our cells, yeah, because we were talking about the 3 generations in one body.
Mhm.
It stays in our DNA. It's not even ours. But that
I've
pain lives
definitely
into us.
heard about that, about um like the mother's DNA, like whenever with the child, the mother's DNA does pass on to the child, and then when the child
Mm,
gets older and they have kids, their DNA is in their children. And I really
yeah.
believe that. I really do believe that, where I've seen that, and I think I've read that somewhere about a mother's DNA. I can't remember where. Um, but it
And
was
and
really
that child
interesting to
and
me.
that child's DNA. remains with the mother. That's why the mother has the instinct and can feel it in the body. The new DNA, the combined DNA of the mother and the child, cells from the child stay in that mother's body for the rest of her life. That's why you're like, I know something's wrong. Yeah, you know something's wrong because those cells get activated energetically and you can feel it from miles away.
It's very crazy that you say that, because when I am like at work, or like I'm randomly doing something, I sometimes I get the feeling of, all right, it's either somebody's talking about me that I get the feeling of, or I'm like, what is my daughter doing at school? And I can feel it. I'm like, what happened at school today? And then she'll come home and she'll be like, I had a good day, or she'll come home and she like, I had a bad day. Or I get like a really like kind of, I don't know if it's weird to say, but I get like a sixth sense where I'll tell my spouse sometimes, I'm like, hey, I got a bad feeling you getting in the car and driving somewhere, so I need you to just chill out here for a second before. And it comes in an instant for me, which is really weird
Yeah.
because I'm like, where did this come from? And then it actually happens, or it later on when my daughter does come home from school, she's like, Mom, I had a really, really bad day during this time. And I'm like, I felt this during this same time.
Mm,
So
mm.
I see what you're
And that
saying
is,
about it.
yeah, and it's proven scientifically. That's the whole thing. It is proven scientifically now that we have that capacity to feel what happens with our parents, with our grandparents, because we have cells from them, and also with our kids, because again we have cells from them, and it's
which
all
is
proven.
pretty cool to know that, like you said, your mother's DNA is actually in your body, and your DNA is in your child. I know
Mm,
before
mm.
we wrap up, I know we're about to wrap up here in our conversation because I want to continue this for so much longer. Like I said, we could talk for hours. Um, but I know healing doesn't happen overnight, especially with motherhood, doesn't pause while we figure it out. So before we wrap up, I want you to leave maybe like a good affirmation for just women overall, or
Mm.
something positive to leave on this note with this conversation.
Okay, I'll give you a hard one because
Uh-oh,
I
not a
want to
hard
make
one. We've been having fun ones, not a hard one. Oh man. Okay. I'll take it.
So I want everyone that listened to this to think about a situation that creates some sort of feeling. Yeah, angry, sadness, enragement, disappointment, whatever that is. And this is going to take 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Just think about that situation. Take a couple of deep breaths and intensify that feeling in your body. Like literally, if you're angry, just feel that anger, feel you and feel it in your body, like your fists are clenching and your jaw is tightening and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then take a deep breath and say, you are part of me and I love you. And just give that feeling a little bit of love, or that situation, or that person. And a little bit more love, and a little bit more love, and a little bit more love. And like I can, because I got a little bit angry there, and now I'm like, oh, it is part of me. And you do this for a minute, you just give a little bit more love to that person, situation, feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you're like, I'm not angry anymore. I'm not
You let
sad
it go.
anymore. I can be present now because I'm not in that feeling anymore. And it doesn't even take you 5 minutes, as I said, probably 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
If you learn, when you learn how to do it, it's going to be like a minute, less than a minute. It's 60 seconds. 60 seconds that can change your day from angry, frustrated, disappointed, sad, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
to I don't feel like that anymore. I can be present. I can play with my kids. I can smile. I can be happy. And I can start living. So that's a little bit of just give yourself a little bit more love. That's the affirmation. I'm giving
I like
myself a little bit more love.
give yourself a little bit more love and some grace. Give yourself some grace too.
Grace and kindness. We are
Mm-hmm.
our biggest judges. There is no one, and I can guarantee you, there is no one in the whole world that can tell me more painful things about myself than
Mm-hmm.
what I already told to myself. No one. We
We
say
are
it
our
all to
biggest critic.
ourselves. Yes,
We are.
yes.
And we have to, in
So,
2026, we need to stop that. Stop being our biggest critics because it doesn't do
yes.
any good to keep criticizing yourself when you know that you're a
Mm,
good human being and you have good intentions and you have a good heart. So I'm glad that you said to leave with a little bit more love on this podcast.
mm,
So, Andrea, thank you so much for having this open hearted conversation and being so grounded with this conversation as well. This was one of those episodes that I know will be so resonated, not only for me, myself, because we had the conversation before and it was awesome, but for women in general that are listening to the podcast. For anyone listening, remember this. You don't need to be fully healed to raise emotionally healthy children. You just need to be willing to see, feel, and not only that, just to grow and learn. If this episode resonates with you, please share it with not only another woman, you can share it with your spouse, share it with a friend who might need it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Yes, leave a review for 2026. Start it off with a good review. It truly helps the podcast reach out to more women, more moms, more dads, more friends who might need these conversations. So, as I say in my podcast, until next time, take a deep breath, give yourself some grace, and remember you are doing better than what you might think. And before we leave in 2026, I want everybody to take this also. No matter what happens this year, whether it is a good year or whether it's a bad year for 2026 for you, know that you have put in your all from January 1st, day one of 365 days, all the way to the end of those 365 days. Um, Make that vision board, take that trip, give yourself some love, hug your child, tell your mom and dad that you love them because you only get one life in this lifetime. So until then, I want to say, Andrea, again, thank you for being on the Balanced Boss Mom podcast. I'm your host, Erika, and I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day and a great week ahead. Bye, guys.
thank you.